This is not random. This is not in your head. And it is not because you are too much. There is a reason people shift in their seats when you enter the room. There is a reason conversations change when you start speaking. There is a reason some people admire you in silence, while others feel exposed just standing near you. You carry something they cannot explain, and today you're about to understand why. The hidden reaction they can't control. You've noticed it, the subtle tension, the forced smiles, the way some people avoid eye contact or overcompensate with fake enthusiasm. You walk in calmly, yet the energy shifts instantly. It's not because you're loud, it's not because you're arrogant. In fact, most of the time you're quiet, observing, grounded. But your presence speaks before you do, and presence is power. The weight of awareness. When you began waking up spiritually, you thought it would feel peaceful, and sometimes it does. But awakening also sharpens your perception. You see patterns others ignore. You hear what people don't say. You feel intentions beneath words. That level of awareness makes people uncomfortable, because most people are used to sleepwalking through life. A mirror they didn't ask for. Your energy acts like a mirror. Without trying, you reflect back to people who they truly are, their insecurities, their masks, their hidden fears. And when someone is not ready to face themselves, they will blame the mirror instead of their reflection. That's when they call you intense, different, hard to read. But what they're really feeling is exposure. Chosen ones are disruptors. Being chosen does not mean being worshipped. It means being appointed for growth, responsibility, and impact. Chosen ones disrupt comfort zones. They challenge false narratives simply by existing. They don't conform easily. They question deeply. And systems built on illusion do not like to be questioned. Silence makes them nervous. You don't overshare. You don't beg for validation. You don't chase attention. Your silence makes insecure people nervous, because silence forces others to sit with their own thoughts. And many are afraid of what they might discover in that quiet. You don't fit the script. Society hands out scripts: smile like this, dress like that, think this way, believe only what is popular. But you've always felt out of place following someone else's script. Even as a child, you sensed there was more beneath the surface. When someone refuses to play a role, it exposes the performance around them. Your calm is threatening. In chaos, you remain centered. In conflict, you observe before reacting. In gossip, you stay detached. That calmness unsettles people who feed off drama, because your energy refuses to participate in lower frequencies. And when you don't engage, they feel rejected by default. They can't manipulate you. One of the biggest reasons people feel uncomfortable around you is simple. They cannot manipulate you easily. You read between the lines. You sense shifts in tone. You notice inconsistencies. And manipulators rely on blindness, not awareness. Loneliness was part of the path. There were seasons where you felt isolated, misunderstood, even rejected. But isolation wasn't punishment, it was preparation. You were being refined, strengthened, taught to stand alone so you wouldn't depend on applause. Energy doesn't lie. You trust your intuition now, that inner knowing, that subtle nudge. And when someone's words don't match their energy, you feel it immediately. People sense that you can detect truth beneath their performance. That alone is enough to make them uneasy. You carry conviction. There is something steady about you. Even when you doubt yourself, there is a quiet conviction underneath. You may not shout your beliefs, but you stand firm in them. And people who are unstable in their identity often feel shaken around someone who knows who they are becoming. Growth makes others question themselves. When you evolve, you remind others that growth is possible. And not everyone wants that reminder, because growth requires responsibility. So instead of leveling up, Some will distance themselves from the one who reflects what they could become. You are not meant to blend in. You were not designed to dissolve into the background. You were designed to illuminate. Light does not apologize for shining, and darkness does not negotiate with light. It either transforms or retreats. This is spiritual friction. The discomfort you feel from others is spiritual friction. It is what happens when awakening collides with avoidance, when awareness meets denial, when authenticity meets performance. You are never too much. For years you may have shrunk yourself, lowered your voice, dimmed your light. But shrinking did not make you accepted. It only made you disconnected from yourself. The truth is, you were never too much. You were just too real for environments built on pretending. The cost of being awake. Awakening has a cost. You lose shallow connections. You outgrow old versions of yourself. You feel things deeply. But you also gain clarity, peace, direction. And that trade is worth everything. They feel the shift before you speak. Sometimes you don't even say a word, yet someone across the room stiffens. That's because energy introduces you before your voice does. Your aura carries awareness, and awareness is confrontational to the unprepared. Your boundaries are new. When you started saying no without guilt, everything changed. People who benefited from your lack of boundaries felt the shift immediately. And discomfort is often just resistance to losing control. You trigger growth, not because you lecture, not because you judge, but because your existence proves that change is possible. And change is uncomfortable for anyone clinging to comfort. You see through masks. You don't hate people, you just see them clearly. And clarity disrupts illusions. When someone senses that you are not fooled by appearances, they either respect you or resent you. Both reactions come from the same place, truth. Your presence is a test. Some will rise around you. Others will retreat. Your presence becomes a test of alignment. Those who are ready for growth will feel inspired. Those who are not will feel threatened. That is not your burden to fix. You are called to something greater. If you feel different, it is not accidental. If you feel set apart, it is not random. You were called to awaken first so you could lead by example, quietly, authentically, with integrity. Not to dominate, but to elevate. Stop apologizing for your energy. The world does not need another deluded soul. It needs people who are aware, grounded, courageous enough to stand in truth without hostility. You can be kind and powerful at the same time. You can be humble and unshakable at the same time. This is confirmation. If this message resonates deeply, it is not coincidence. It is confirmation. You are not imagining the tension. You are perceiving it accurately. And now you understand why. Embrace the calling. Do not shrink. Do not dim. Do not trade authenticity for temporary approval. Walk boldly in who you are becoming. Refine your character. Strengthen your discipline. Deepen your faith. Stay aligned with truth. Because the right people will not feel threatened by your light. They will feel guided by it. If this message spoke directly to you, don't ignore that feeling. Like this video so others who feel different can find it. Comment, "I embrace my awakening" if you're ready to stop shrinking. And subscribe to Return to Awakening so we continue uncovering truths that most are afraid to speak. Your journey is not random. And this is only the beginning, the burden of perception. There are moments when you wish you could turn it off. The awareness, the constant reading between the lines, the ability to sense when something is off before anyone else notices. It can feel exhausting, like carrying an invisible weight no one else sees. But this perception is not a curse. It is discernment being sharpened. And discernment is protection. You outgrew the old version of you. Some of the discomfort people feel has nothing to do with who you are now. It has everything to do with who you used to be. They were comfortable with the version of you that tolerated disrespect, the version that stayed small, the version that laughed at things that hurt. When you changed, the dynamic changed, and not everyone benefits from your evolution. Your standards increased. You no longer entertain chaos. You no longer respond to bait. You no longer chase validation from people who never valued you. That shift alone disrupts old patterns, and when patterns break, people who relied on them feel unsettled. You became selective. You protect your time now. You protect your energy now. You protect your peace now. And selective people are often misunderstood by those who feel entitled to unlimited access. But access is earned, not demanded. You do compete. There is a quiet confidence in you. You are not trying to outshine anyone. You are not trying to prove superiority. You are not chasing comparison. And strangely, that non-competitive energy threatens those who measure their worth against others. Because when you refuse to compete, you step out of their game entirely. You ask deeper questions. While others stay on the surface, you naturally go deeper. You question motives, you question intentions, you question direction. Depth intimidates people who are committed to staying shallow. And not everyone wants to explore beneath the surface. You value truth over comfort. You would rather face an uncomfortable truth than live in a comfortable lie. That mindset alone separates you. Many people prefer illusions that soothe their ego, but you seek clarity even when it stings. And when truth enters a room, comfort built on deception begins to tremble. You don't laugh at everything anymore. There was a time when you laughed just to belong. You agreed just to avoid conflict. You smiled just to keep the peace. Now your silence speaks louder than fake laughter ever did, and authenticity can feel confrontational to those who thrive on pretense. Your growth is visible, even if you don't announce it, even if you don't post about it, even if you move quietly. People see the discipline, the restraint, the emotional maturity, the shift in your eyes, and growth in someone else often exposes stagnation within themselves. You are comfortable alone. This might be one of the most powerful shifts. You are no longer afraid of solitude. You don't need constant noise to feel alive. You don't need constant company to feel valuable. And when someone cannot stand to be alone, your independence unsettles them. You refuse to engage in gossip. You don't feed on rumors. You don't bond over tearing others down. You don't find entertainment in someone else's downfall. That alone separates you from environments that survive on negativity. And when you don't participate, you become an outsider by default. You carry emotional depth. You feel deeply. Not weakly, deeply. You process experiences with reflection. You search for meaning in hardship. You look for lessons in pain. And emotional depth can intimidate those who avoid their own feelings. You do react the way they expect. When someone tries to provoke you and you stay calm, it confuses them. When someone tries to guilt you and you hold your boundary, it frustrates them. When someone expects drama and receives composure, it unsettles them. Because they prepared for a reaction, not restraint. You are becoming harder to access. Not emotionally unavailable, but emotionally aware. You no longer open up instantly. You no longer trust blindly. You no longer attach quickly. And people who are used to immediate access feel the difference. You operate with intention. Your words are measured now. Your actions are deliberate now. Your decisions are thoughtful now. Intentional living stands out in a world addicted to impulse. And standing out always draws attention. You no longer fear being misunderstood. This is a powerful place to reach. You used to over-explain, over-clarify, over-defend. Now you understand that not everyone is meant to understand you. And that freedom unsettles people who rely on controlling narratives. You walk away without drama. You don't slam doors. You don't create scenes. You simply detach. And silent detachment is more powerful than loud confrontation. It leaves people alone with their conscience. That can be uncomfortable. You have inner stability. Even when life feels uncertain, there is a stability forming inside you. A grounding, a trust in the process of growth. People who depend on external validation struggle to understand someone who builds strength internally. You respect yourself now. This is the real shift. You respect your time, your values, your boundaries, your purpose. And self-respect changes everything. Because when you respect yourself, you stop tolerating what once drained you. And that loss of access feels like rejection to those who never respected you in return. You're not here to fit in. You're here to refine yourself, to strengthen your character, to elevate your mindset, to live aligned with truth. And that path was never meant to be crowded. You sense what others ignore. There are subtle shifts in tone that you catch instantly. Micro-expressions, pauses, the energy behind a handshake. While others brush it off, you register it, you analyze it, you store it. That level of sensitivity makes you accurate, and accuracy makes deception uncomfortable. You no longer entertain disrespect. Before, you gave endless chances. You excused behavior that crossed lines. You convinced yourself that patience meant tolerance. Now you understand the difference. Patience is strength. Tolerance of disrespect is self-betrayal. And when you stopped betraying yourself, the dynamic changed. You are not easily impressed. Titles don't move you. Money doesn't blind you. Popularity doesn't intimidate you. You look at character, integrity, consistency. And when someone realizes you cannot be dazzled by surface-level status, they feel stripped of their usual leverage. You carry quiet authority. You don't demand attention. You don't chase influence. But when you speak, people listen. There is weight in your words because they are not thrown around carelessly. That quiet authority can feel threatening to those who rely on noise instead of substance. You faced your shadows. One of the deepest reasons people feel uneasy around you is this. You have confronted parts of yourself they are still running from. You have acknowledged your flaws. You have wrestled with your weaknesses. You have taken responsibility for your mistakes. And someone who has faced their own darkness does not fear someone else. That kind of stability is rare. You don't seek approval anymore. You used to wonder, do they like me? Now you wonder, are they aligned with my values? That shift flips the power dynamic. When you stop seeking approval, you become grounded, and grounded people cannot be easily swayed. You're comfortable saying less. Not every thought needs to be spoken. Not every disagreement needs to be argued. Not every misunderstanding needs to be corrected. Your restraint is maturity, and maturity feels intimidating to those who thrive on emotional reactions. You move with purpose. You don't wander aimlessly anymore. You have direction. Even if the full path isn't visible, you have intention. People who lack direction often feel uneasy around those who carry it, because direction highlights distraction. You don't feed ego games. Some people test others constantly. Subtle competitions, hidden comparisons, silent ranking systems. You don't participate, you don't compete, you don't seek to dominate. And when someone tries to measure themselves against you but you refuse to measure back, it leaves them unsettled. You've learned to detach with dignity. Detachment used to mean bitterness. Now it means wisdom. You understand that not every connection is meant to last forever. Some were lessons, some were mirrors, some were temporary alignments. And when you release without hatred, it reflects inner strength. You prioritize alignment over popularity. You would rather be aligned with your principles than popular with the crowd. You would rather walk alone in truth than surrounded by people in compromise. That choice narrows your circle, but it strengthens your foundation. You see through flattery. Compliments don't control you. You can tell when praise is genuine and when it's strategic. You can feel when someone is trying to win favor instead of building sincerity. That awareness makes manipulation ineffective, and ineffective tactics create frustration. You've stopped explaining your growth. Not everyone deserves access to your evolution. Not everyone needs a front row seat to your transformation. You grow quietly now, you adjust privately, you reflect internally. And mystery unsettles people who want constant updates. You are less reactive. The old you reacted instantly. The new you pauses, reflects, chooses your response carefully. That pause is power. It breaks cycles. It disrupts predictable patterns. And people who relied on your old reactions feel the shift immediately. You hold yourself accountable. You don't blame the world for everything. You don't point fingers without self-reflection. You examine your role in situations. You adjust when necessary. Accountability creates maturity, and maturity exposes immaturity without saying a word. You refuse to shrink. Even when you try to downplay yourself, your presence still fills the space. Not loudly, not arrogantly, but fully. You no longer fold yourself into smaller shapes to make others comfortable. And comfort built on your shrinking was never sustainable anyway. You have developed spiritual discipline. You guard your thoughts. You refine your habits. You strengthen your inner life. Spiritual discipline changes your energy. It makes you more centered, more aware, more selective. And selective people disrupt environments built on excess. You don't tolerate chaos anymore. Drama once entertained you. Now it drains you. You recognize chaos as distraction, as stagnation disguised as excitement. And when you step away from chaos, those who live in it feel judged, even if you never said a word. You radiate self-trust. You second-guess yourself less. You rely on your discernment more. You move with quiet confidence. Self-trust is powerful. It cannot be easily shaken by opinions, and opinions lose their power around someone who trusts themselves. You are not easily influenced. Trends don't sway you. Crowds don't pressure you. Emotional manipulation doesn't trap you. Independence of thought is rare, and rare qualities always stand out. You've outgrown small conversations. Surface talk no longer satisfies you. You crave meaning, purpose, insight. When conversations stay shallow, you disengage, not out of arrogance, but out of misalignment. And depth always feels intimidating to those who prefer simplicity. You walk in conviction, not confusion. You may not have all the answers, but you are no longer confused about who you are becoming. There is direction in your spirit. There is clarity forming in your decisions. And clarity in one person often highlights confusion in another. You do betray your values for acceptance. There was a time you compromised just to belong. You stayed quiet when you should have spoken. You agreed when you should have declined. You tolerated what you should have corrected. Now your values are not negotiable. And when someone realizes they cannot pressure you into compromise, they feel the loss of control immediately. You've mastered emotional restraint. You still feel deeply, but you no longer let emotions dictate your every move. You process before responding. You breathe before deciding. Emotional restraint is strength, And strength is intimidating to those who rely on emotional chaos to gain leverage. You no longer overshare. Access to you is layered now. Not everyone gets your thoughts. Not everyone gets your plans. Not everyone gets your vulnerabilities. You've learned that transparency requires trust. And when people can't access your inner world easily, they feel shut out, even if they never earned entry. You're comfortable being misjudged. This is a level of freedom most people never reach. You understand that perception is filtered through others' insecurities. You no longer exhaust yourself trying to correct every misunderstanding. That indifference to judgment unsettles people who use judgment as a weapon. You do chase closure. Not every situation needs a final conversation. Not every ending requires explanation. You've learned that some closures are internal, quiet, final. And when you detach without drama, it forces others to confront the silence they hope to avoid. You've developed inner discipline. Your habits are changing. Your routines are intentional. Your time is structured. Discipline transforms energy. It sharpens your focus. It strengthens your presence. And people who struggle with consistency often feel exposed around someone who embodies it. You see potential in others, but you don't force it. You can recognize greatness in people before they see it in themselves. But you no longer try to save everyone. You understand that growth must be chosen, not forced. And when you stop overextending yourself to fix others, those who depended on your effort feel the withdrawal. You've accepted solitude as strength. Solitude used to feel like rejection. Now it feels like alignment. You use your alone time to reflect, to recalibrate, to refine. People who cannot sit with themselves often project discomfort onto those who can. You don't flinch at silence. Awkward silences don't intimidate you. You don't rush to fill gaps with unnecessary noise. You are comfortable letting moments breathe. And silence has a way of revealing truths others try to hide. That makes people uneasy. You've detached from external validation. Compliments are appreciated, but not required. Recognition is welcomed, but not chased. You no longer depend on applause to confirm your worth. And when validation loses its grip on you, manipulation loses its power. You're becoming more focused. Distractions that once pulled you in no longer hold the same power. You see through them now. You understand the cost of wasted time. Focus creates momentum, and momentum creates separation from those who remain stagnant. You operate on principle, not on impulse, not on emotion alone, not on convenience. Principled living requires sacrifice, and sacrifice exposes who is serious about growth and who is. You don't enter every battle. You've realized that not every disagreement deserves your energy. Not every accusation deserves your defense. Not every insult deserves your reaction. Walking away from unnecessary battles is wisdom, and wisdom often looks like indifference to those seeking conflict. You've strengthened your boundaries quietly. You didn't announce it. You didn't post about it. You just enforced it. And consistent boundaries create clarity, but clarity can feel like rejection to those who benefited from blurred lines. You value integrity over image. Reputation matters, but integrity matters more. You care more about who you are in private than how you are perceived in public. That internal alignment creates confidence that cannot be faked. You no longer fear outgrowing people. Growth sometimes requires distance. Not out of hatred, not out of arrogance, but out of necessity. You understand that staying small to maintain connection is self-sabotage. And when you expand, not everyone expands with you. You carry a different frequency. You've noticed it. In certain rooms, you feel out of place, not because you're inferior, but because your energy doesn't match the environment. You crave purpose, depth, reflection. Environments built on ego, gossip, or distraction naturally clash with that frequency. You do seek revenge. When wronged, you don't plot retaliation. You focus on growth instead. You let character speak louder than resentment. That response confuses people who expect conflict. You have learned the power of detachment. Attachment once controlled your emotions. Now you understand that clinging creates suffering. You can care deeply without losing yourself. And that balance feels unfamiliar to those who equate intensity with chaos. You walk with subtle confidence. Not loud. Not boastful. Not attention-seeking. Just steady. Confidence that doesn't scream often intimidates more than confidence that does. You trust divine timing. You don't rush what isn't ready. You don't force what isn't aligned. You understand that delays are not denials. That patience reflects faith, and faith grounded in discipline makes you unshakable. You are becoming unrecognizable, not in a superficial way, but internally. Your mindset has shifted, your standards have risen, your reactions have matured. And when people realize they can no longer predict you based on your past, it unsettles them. You are no longer easily accessible. Emotionally, mentally, energetically. You are present, but not available to everyone. You are kind, but not naive. That balance creates mystery, and mystery makes insecure people uncomfortable. You are anchored in self-respect. Self-respect changes posture. It changes tone. It changes tolerance. When you respect yourself deeply, you unconsciously demand respect from others, and those unwilling to offer it feel exposed. You no longer entertain half-effort. You can recognize inconsistency immediately. Mixed signals no longer confuse you. Bare minimum no longer impresses you. When you stopped accepting half-effort, you forced people to either rise to your standard or step away. You speak with intention. Your words are not careless anymore. You don't talk just to fill space. You speak when it matters. And when you do, there is clarity in your tone. That clarity can feel confronting to those who hide behind vague language. You've broken old cycles, patterns that ran through your family, habits that once defined your identity, reactions that used to control you. You've interrupted them, and breaking cycles doesn't just change you, it disrupts the comfort of everyone who benefited from the old version of you. You don't fear difficult conversations. You don't run from tension anymore. You don't avoid truth to keep things smooth. You can sit across from someone and address what needs to be addressed. And maturity in confrontation feels intimidating to those who rely on avoidance. You've learned to observe before trusting. You watch consistency. You watch actions. You watch how people treat others, not just how they treat you. That observational wisdom makes you harder to deceive. You carry emotional intelligence. You understand tone. You understand timing. You understand when to speak and when to remain silent. Emotional intelligence shifts power. It removes impulsivity, and it creates steadiness that others may not know how to handle. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself. You've stopped overperforming to earn approval. You've stopped explaining your worth. You've stopped convincing people of your value. When you stopped proving, you started embodying, and embodiment is louder than any performance. You've accepted that not everyone will understand. Understanding is not guaranteed. Alignment is not universal. You are no longer shocked when someone misinterprets you, because you understand that clarity requires depth, and not everyone is willing to go there. You protect your inner peace fiercely. Peace is no longer optional. It is essential. You guard it with discipline. You guard it with distance when necessary. And when someone tries to disturb that peace and fails, they feel the barrier you've built. You are rooted in self-awareness. You know your strengths. You know your weaknesses. You know your triggers. Self-awareness creates humility and confidence at the same time, and that balance can feel intimidating to those who lack reflection. You do chase popular opinion. You don't shift your beliefs based on trends. You don't dilute your perspective to fit in. You stand firm respectfully. Independent thinking separates you in environments driven by group approval. You've replaced reaction with reflection. You pause. You analyze. You consider consequences. Reflection slows impulsivity. It strengthens wisdom, and wisdom changes how people interact with you. You radiate maturity. There is something in your eyes now. A calm depth. A quiet strength that wasn't there before. People sense growth even if they can't articulate it, and growth makes stagnant energy uncomfortable. You no longer fear standing alone. Alone does not mean abandoned. Alone does not mean unloved. Alone can mean aligned. That understanding removes desperation, and when desperation disappears, your energy becomes steady. You've learned to let go without bitterness. You release without revenge. You move forward without slander. You detach without hatred. That level of emotional control feels foreign to those who equate strength with aggression. You value depth over noise. Loud spaces exhaust you. Shallow attention drains you. You crave meaning over movement. And in a world addicted to noise, depth feels almost rebellious. You no longer seek to be understood by everyone. You've accepted that being understood by the right people matters more than being understood by everyone. That shift narrows your circle, but it strengthens your alignment. And alignment brings peace, even if it brings separation. You are becoming selectively visible. You don't reveal everything. You don't display every achievement. You don't broadcast every struggle. Selective visibility creates mystery, and mystery makes people project their assumptions. You trust your inner compass, even when others doubt you, even when the path looks uncertain, even when the crowd walks the opposite direction. You trust your internal guidance, and that trust makes you unmovable. You no longer tolerate energetic drain. You can feel when someone is draining your spirit. You can sense when a room feels heavy. You withdraw when necessary. That sensitivity is not weakness, it is awareness. You are growing into leadership. Not loud leadership. Not ego-driven leadership. But principled leadership. The kind that influences by example. The kind that inspires without demanding attention. And natural leaders often make insecure people uncomfortable. You have accepted responsibility for your life. You no longer blame circumstances endlessly. You no longer wait for rescue. You take responsibility for your direction. Responsibility creates power, and powerful individuals shift the atmosphere simply by standing in it.